Good afternoon, everyone. I'm with John Reynolds from Boadicea today. We're just going to get a little update of what's happening. There's some exciting news that the company's just announced, and I'd like to go through it with you, John. We find these forums or these discussions with people like yourself who are in charge of companies really, really informative for shareholders, plus our investors. So we just want to have a chat with you today just to get an outline of who you are, what you're doing, and what significant events have happened recently and what we can expect to have in the future. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
John, can you please give us a brief summary of your company and its current assets, please?
My pleasure. Look, Boadicea, we're based in Melbourne. We're an exploration company. Our key assets by a significant margin is a set of Fraser Range nickel tenements in Western Australia. We've got a total of 11 tenements in the Fraser Range, and as of October last year, we completed a deal on 9 of those tenements with IGO, and that is an exceptionally exciting story for us. And there's an obvious growth path for us, and with IGO doing the work. We've also got some exploration tenements, and we're starting to diversify into gold and copper. And so we've got 2 tenements, or 1 application, 1 tenement in the Paterson province, looking for copper gold in WA. And more recently, we've picked up 1 near Ravenswood gold mine in near Charles Towers in Queensland. So we've got a diverse range of tenements, but by far the key is the IGO Fraser Range tenements that we have.
Excellent, that's fantastic. Can you just tell us a little bit more information of this IGO transaction that you've done for your shareholders? It's quite exciting. We're very impressed.
We are too. We're very pleased with it, and as a board, we're absolutely excited by this opportunity that's been developed over a few years with progressively picking up a set of quality tenements in Fraser Range. The key tenement is the Symons Hill tenement, and the beauty of this is directly adjacent to the Nova nickel mine, which is owned by IGO. And I mean directly, it is the adjacent tenement. It's about 5 kilometres from Nova, and it's a long strike, and it's highly prospective for extensions to the Nova geology and exploration potential. So the IGO deal was completed after considerable time of negotiation around September, October last year with the shareholder approval. And the structure of the deal is that we retain ownership of those tenements, and that's key to it. We always own these assets. We haven't sold them. We haven't farmed them out. And then so IGO get an exclusive right of exploration for 5 years. So we get a free carry. So they're doing all the hard work. They're doing all the exploration. They're using their expertise, and we get to watch that along the ride. Now, for that right, they've paid us $7 million. Now, 4.5 of that we've returned to shareholders. Our shareholders have been around for a while. They wanted to return, so we've returned some of that benefit bonus back to shareholders, and we now have about $2.2 million in the bank. The IGO deal is then sweetened by the fact that if they find a JORC resource, and it doesn't need to be economically, the world's greatest deposit, if they find any sort of JORC resource that they report to the market, then they pay us $50 million. And that is just a straight, there's no ifs or buts. If they find a JORC resource, they would pay us $50 million. If they don't find any JORC resource, and the tenements will still be prospective after the 5 years, then the tenements come back to our management. We always retain ownership, but in the meantime, we're making the most of IGO's expertise and skill set and their balance sheet to pay for the exploration. So it's a wonderful deal. We're really pleased with it, and the future looks very rosy.
I have to agree with you there. We're, as a broker looking for investments, very pleased with what you've done as well.
Thank you.
We're actually recommending clients to start buying shares now. There was an announcement with IGO last week at some point. Can you just go over the significance of that? for us, please, and what it means with this transaction that you've done?
Yeah, the beauty of this IGO deal is, again, they're off doing their hard work. They're doing exploration. More recently, though, so they've announced a work program going into 2021. So they're again focused on the Symons Hill tenement, which is again adjacent to the Nova mine. So the work program that they're planning is some geophysics in Q1, and then follow up drilling in Q2 of 2021. But the key is that they're looking for extensions to prospects they already know. And more recently, that's been highlighted by a report that they presented on their website that focused on the Orion prospect. Now, Orion sits on the IGO side of the fence, the tenement boundary. This report is focused on all of the Fraser Range exploration. Now, they have somewhere around 600 targets in the Fraser Range, some of which are very low priority, some of which moderate. But top of that tree of prospectivity is Orion. Now, that Orion prospect is the highest value project that they have as an exploration project in the whole of the Fraser Range. It is 1 kilometre away from our tenement. And all of the work that they're doing in the first half of this year is looking for the extension to that Orion prospect. We're right in the middle of it. It is perfect for us. And one of the comments they make in that report is that the tenor or the grade of the mineralisation that they've got within the Orion prospect is increasing to the northeast. Guess where we are? We're to the northeast, 1 kilometre away. So there's a reason why IGO has done the deal. They know what's on their side of the fence. They anticipate that it's getting better on our side of the fence. So we're very excited by the work program in the first half of this year. It is looking very exciting for us and for IGO, of course.
I think you've mentioned something very significant that our investors would be very interested in, obviously shareholders. That drilling campaign on your tenement, when did you say they were thinking of drilling that?
Well, they're planning to do, so we made the announcement early in January about the EM survey that they do, which is using a low temperature squid technology, which is looking for deeper targets. Quite technical, but effectively this is IGO bringing in their skill set. So they're doing that in Q1 of this year. So, and then that will allow the targeting of the drill holes for probably Q2. Well, look, it's still subject to the results, but they are very aggressively interested in exploring this. We only completed the deal in October, and they're planning on drilling, in the first half of this year. This is priority number one for them, and it's a great story in terms of that timing and how quickly it's going to happen. So Q2 of this year, we anticipate diamond drilling on those EM targets.
Forgive me for not knowing, but how many holes do you think they'll do, and how long does each hole take? Just so we can, so they start around April, May, or June.
That's a good question. I think that the depth of the target's around the 400-metre mark. How many holes they haven't indicated to us, but it will be a multi-hole program. I think they've got 3 or 4 holes on the Orion chronolith, which is the geological focusing of the mineralisation that's on their side of the fence. They got 4 holes in it, so maybe it's something around 3 or 4 holes. Depends how many rigs, double shifting. It might take 6-8 weeks. And then results. Look, it's probably going to be late Q2, early Q3, maybe when we get results coming through. But it is that sort of timing, I guess.
Do they have to announce these results? Because obviously you said something very crucial. They pay you $50 million on a JORC resource. Yep. Just a little bit of information on that. 50 million, just firstly, is a big number. How many cents per share is that worth with your current shareholder base?
We've got about 62 million shares, so 50 million is about 84 cents a share, something of that order. I forgot to add, the stake knives of this deal is we also get a 0.75 royalty for the life of the asset. So it's a net smelter return royalty on top of it. So that was a little bit of a steak knives bonus for us. It means we get generated, if it gets mined and processed, we'll get a 0.75 net smelter return. And obviously that's going to generate some ongoing cash, and depends how large the deposit is. In terms of the messaging, though, you touched on it in that question, though, is that they are part of the agreement is they have to tell us what they're doing. Now, I have to say, IGO have been exceptionally good. We've been very impressed with them and their geological staff that we've been in communication with, plus their legal team and their investor relations team. They've all been really good. They've been proactively providing us information, but also they provide us regular quarterly reports. All of this is quite detailed, and it is part of the agreement, but they've been really good about it. And so we will ride the wave of their work. So we will make announcements progressively as they do work, and we'll get that into the market.
Fantastic. Just one last note I'd like to comment on, just for our investors.
Yep.
The importance of the current mine that they've got going next to your tenement, the elongation of the vein. Why is it so important to them? Do they need a lot more ore currently, or? So
the Nova Nickel Mine's been operating, I think, less than 10 years now. It's based on the Nova Bollinger deposits. My understanding, that's got about 5 or 6 years mine life left. Now, that's maybe 7. It depends what numbers you say. Now, obviously, they need to replace that ore feed. They have a $35 million exploration budget for the Fraser Range. So they are very keen. It's a need rather than they need to find more feed to go into that mill. And they've been interested in our tenements for a long time. And obviously the Symons Hill, it's within 4 kilometres, 5 kilometres of the plant itself, and it's probably accessible underground from the existing underground infrastructure. So, very high value, or if there's something found there. I'll emphasise if there's something found there, but it will be of high value to them because it's right next door to the plant, and they need to replace that feed that's going to be depleted out of Nova Bollinger.
I've often worked with companies in the smaller cap arena, and I think you're in quite a fortunate position for what you've just said, that it's not really David versus Goliath here. You've got something they really need, and they need to act on it quickly. So I think you're holding all the aces, in other words.
Well, it's not written as a joint venture, but it is a joint venture. We're both getting benefits out of this tenement. Oh, look, I should emphasise that this is not the only tenement. There's the rest of Symons Hill, which is quite an extensive licence in itself, but there's another eight tenements in the Fraser Range that are not as equally attractive because they're further away from the mine, but there's a number of other opportunities there to explore, and IGO in the last quarterly announced that they were going to start looking at Transline, which is up near the Mawson deposit that's recently been discovered. So it is a joint venture, that it is mutually beneficial, and we're very excited by the prospectivity of the work.
Just wanting to touch how beneficial it is for our shareholders. I've just done the sums very quickly on my calculator.
Okay.
That's 80 cents a share.
Oh, well, if you add on the royalty and then you add on our other prospects, maybe it's a bit higher than 80 cents, but I'd like to think that 80 cents is a good benchmark for us to aim for, yeah.
Well, I just was looking at the 50 million, excluding everything else. So,
of course, yeah.
I think we've pretty much covered the IGO tenement, which is going to be my main selling point when I'm dealing with investors and getting them to invest in shares over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Do you just want to touch on your other projects very quickly? Because I'm conscious of time.
Look, we identified that we've finished off. We've handed over responsibility of Fraser Range to IGO. Although we do have 2 tenements that are quite prospective down the southern end of Fraser Range, and we're working those. So we've got two interesting, they're not as high value as Symons Hill, but they're certainly two interesting projects down the southern end, and we're working on those, and those showing some anomalous nickel already. In back June last year, we picked up a tenement, and then we've made a subsequent application for a project called Kungala in the Paterson province. Now, obviously, Paterson is pretty hot at the moment with Winu and Havieron, with Newcrest Havieron announcing a fairly major capital investment. So we've picked up a couple of fairly large tenements on the east side. We finished the airborne geophysics on that late last year, and we'll be releasing those results in a few weeks' time. So that's early stage, but this is playing in giant country. There's some fairly large projects, including Telfer, of course. So we're right in the middle of that, and we're encouraged by that. As an addition, we've also picked up a gold tenement about 20 kilometres away from the Ravenswood gold mine in the Charters Towers regions. Very early days, nice prospectivity, good anomaly, reasonable anomalous gold in some BHP sampling, and we're waiting for that application to be approved before we do any work. But nice looking region, and we're looking extensively in that area for additional tenements. So we're keen to grow in the gold sector. Now, nickel is our bulk asset, but we're looking to grow into the gold sector as a secondary commodity in our portfolio. So we're out there actively looking at the moment.
That's fantastic. I really appreciate that. I think our investors will be very happy to hear this. I just noticed in your area there was another IPO recently done, so that there is investor interest where you are. Can you just
that's the Galileo. Yeah, sorry, Sean. That's obviously Creasy's got a history of finding things. He found the Silverite deposit in the Fraser Range. They've got some tenements down the southern end near us. They managed to raise, I think, 6 million off an IPO. Well done. We think we've got way better tenements with Symons Hill, because of its closeness, and top of the tree is the Orion prospect, which extends into our tenement. We think we've got the best of the best. So we're encouraged by everybody else in the region. I think the Fraser Range is geological exploration-wise very immature. It's early days. It's complex geology. You need to understand that geology to be successful, and I think IGO's concept of knowing as much about the whole range as possible is the ideal thing, and that brings a lot of value to us. So it's early days. There will be some more discoveries there. I'm absolutely convinced about that, and it's just a matter of time before those discoveries are found.
Fantastic. Now, John, as you're aware, small caps, especially when they're not producing, there's a constant drain on the bank account. How's BOA currently set for cash at the moment?
So we've got about 2.1 million in the bank. We've got a burn rate that, because of IGO's funding all the Fraser Range, our burn rate's just on Paterson and Ravenswood and corporate costs. And we're spending a lot of time doing business development at the moment. We're trying to find the next asset.
Fantastic. Mr. John, I'd like to thank you very much for your time. We find all of your projects very interesting, very exciting.
Thank you.
Obviously the gold would appeal to some investors, the nickel appeal to others, but the fact that they're packaged together gives you a little bit of diversification within a junior miner, which is quite interesting. I don't see that very often. So wish you the best of luck, and I think the next 2 quarters will be very, very potentially very rewarding for shareholders, because I think the uptick in the share price could happen before you even get the JORC, because if they do a drill hole and there's nickel evident, that's going to be a very exciting time there. So,
very much so. Yeah, very true.
So, thanks a lot for your time, John.
Thanks, Sean. Very much appreciate your time.
Thanks, mate. Bye.